cup of tea. Hey, so as you can see by the title, today I'm going to be talking about being trans at work. First of all, I just want to apologise if you can hear the buzzing of my PC in the background. Apparently decided that I want to do like a million updates just as I started filming. Couldn't have done it any other time, but I can't really delay this anymore because I've got stuff to do, so we're going to have to deal with it. I'm sorry if it is annoying, it is what it is. But yeah, so somebody on one of my previous videos asked me to make a video about this because they were interested. And the things that they wanted me to talk about specifically were being trans in the workplace, pre-T and pre-op, and also how I deal with being misgendered at work and binding while in a physical job. First of all, it is worth noting that I'm just going to be talking about my personal experiences, and also the fact that I did have a job, I ended up having to leave it after only a month, because it was... Basically, I think I just really thrown myself in at deep end. It was my first job, full-time, manual labour, stressful, and just far too much for me. Ended up getting me ill with stress, because I used to have stress-induced seizures and blackouts that were induced by both stress and through overexertion, if that's the right word. So yeah, biking to work, going at a fast pace under stress for 8 hours and then biking back every day was far too much for me. So I'm currently in the process of looking for another job, and in the meantime I'm trying to get some art commissions so that I can sort of have a little bit of money to get by and to buy Christmas presents and stuff, because I don't want to skimp myself out buying Christmas presents, but I also don't want to not get people Christmas presents. So yeah, so I'm no longer in the workplace at all, but for the time that I was, I've got a little bit of information that I thought would be cool to share with you. So to answer the question about being pre-T, I think honestly it doesn't make much of a difference if you're pre-T or not. Obviously, depending on how well you pass or how much you're read correctly as the gender that you identify as, it could affect things in terms of how you feel and being misgendered and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's like doing anything in life, you know. I go out and I'm binding and I'm packing. Yeah, I don't really know much else to say about that. I looked significantly younger than all the other lads there because everybody's over the age of 18 and I look about 12, but that's about that. That's all I can really say for that. Oh, God's sake. So I'm mainly going to be focusing on dealing with being misgendered and also binding, although binding is probably going to be quite short as well. So binding in a physical job, obviously, as you should know at least, you're not supposed to bind when you're doing heavy exercise. So having a physical job can be a little bit difficult in terms of how long you should be binding for and how to do it in the safest way. Personally for me, I just wore my binder as normal. The most physical part of the day, like actual exercise wise, was getting to work. It's about 15-20 minutes on a bike or a half an hour walk, which is not too much exercise. The bike did knacker me out and I did stop before I got to work because it goes uphill right before it gets to work, so it's like kind of hard and then really hard at the last stretch when you're already tired. But in terms of walking around, because I wasn't aware I was picking, it was strenuous, but it wasn't, you know, heavy exercise. So it was just like walking around at a fairly quick pace and picking things off my shelf, putting it in a box. When the box was full, you lift it off and then make a new box. So you do have to lift some heavy boxes on top of other big, quite high stacks. In which case, if it was too much, because I am quite short, I would just ask somebody else to put it on top for me. So if you're short, you can always use that excuse if you need to lift heavy things and stuff. But yeah, so personally for me, binding wasn't an issue. Walking around a lot, I did find that my binder did ride up every now and again, so whenever I'd go to the toilet, I'd just make sure that I like readjusted and pulled it down. And because I was quite sweaty, I sweat a lot anyway. That's not really to do with the strenuousness of the tasks. The binder stayed down a little bit there because I was sweaty, which is gross, but it made it stick to me, so that kind of helped. But yeah, that's my personal experience. I would say if you do have quite a physical job and you are binding, if it is like very physical, like if you're doing lifting heavy things constantly, or if you're doing something that would be, you know, considered like heavy exercise or moderate exercise over a very long period of time, I would definitely advise taking plenty of breaks, drinking plenty of water so you don't get dehydrated, and also, if you can, binding with a slightly looser binder, so like one that would fit you and make you perfectly flat. Maybe get one a size up just so it's a little bit loose. It still binds, but there's some give to it, so it's not going to be constantly restricting you and restricting your breathing and that sort of thing. Because when you're getting out of breath with your binder on, it makes it a little bit worse. If you're doing that constantly and constantly getting out of breath, it's not going to be great for you. Or using sports bras instead of binders, because they're a bit better on your chest, because it's kind of just across the area that you want to bind rather than across your ribs. or just using layers if your chest is small enough, even if you're quite big, because I know when I was a lot chubbier, still chubby, but my chest in comparison to like my stomach and the rest of me, in baggy stuff didn't look that noticeable, and I did still pass. Not as much as I did with a binder, but it didn't, you know, affect it too much, and it's going to be safer. So that's really the only advice I can give for that. And dealing with being misgendered, this was one that was a bit tricky for me. At first it made me quite anxious the first like week, and then after that I kind of got used to it and it's fine. But I realised that while I was at work, I was getting misgendered. Like, I mean, generally in public, day-to-day life, I tend to pass or be read correctly, because I don't really like the term passing, but it's what everybody knows. So I tend to get read as male probably 90 to 95% of the time, so most of the time. There's the odd occasion where somebody says something, or like they refer to me as female, and I kind of just, if it's in a shop or something, I don't really mind. But when I was at work, I was getting misgendered like a lot. I think I only passed like 50% of the time, maybe even a little bit less. It was like a real shock to the system, and at first I was like, why is this happening? I don't get it. And after reflecting on it, when I got home and stuff, I realised that when I pass, I mean, I look quite young. So I mean, I get on train for Kids Fair, which is under 16, and I'm 19. So I look at least, well, at oldest 15. So when I'm getting read correctly, I think, obviously I must just be getting read as a young teenage boy, as opposed to a 19-year-old man. So when I was in a situation where everybody that works there is over the age of 18, because you have to be 18 in order to get employed there, I did not look 18. I think I looked quite probably androgynous, because a few people had sort of like stopped and then did sort of refer to me one way, and then you could see they were a little bit like, which like weren't sure how to refer to me. I think with the androgyny and my age, obviously they know that I'm over 18. They kind of a lot of times just assumed female because I don't look mega masculine, especially not for an 18-year-old lad. No facial hair. My voice is fairly deep, and I'm quite happy with how my voice is for the situation, being trans and all. It's not as deep as this guys at my age. I did find myself kind of trying to adapt my body language a little bit to try and sort of sway the vote in terms of man, and I found that a little bit uncomfortable, because when I'm at home and stuff, when I'm out, I'm me. So when I was there, I found myself doing small things and like talking a certain way, using language like saying, alright mate, and cheers, and then to every woman I'd say love, just because that's kind of seen as maybe a little bit more of a masculine thing, and just trying to sway the vote a little bit, because it's making me quite uncomfortable. But like I say, after the first week, it was fine, and I figured, you know, the job that it was, you pretty much work on your own. You literally have a headset on, you're walking around with your totes and your tubs and everything, and it's telling you what to do. You grab the stuff, put it in. You very rarely talk to somebody. Normally you might stop and chat to somebody for a minute. I had to talk to a few people because sometimes on the higher shelves when things are pushed right at the back, I can't quite get there. Sometimes I can if I did like a little cheeky and stood on the bottom shelf and just lifted my son up, but you're not supposed to do that, so I tried not to do that. So yeah, I had to speak to people a few times to try and get stuff down, and you have to ask if there's something out of stock. You've got to go to the drivers and get them to replenish it. So those few times I noticed that I did get misgendered quite a lot, and when I was speaking to management and that sort of thing, like I said, it didn't happen all the time, but it did happen a lot more often than I'm used to, and it was uncomfortable at first. But once I got used to it, and once I'd seen the same people a few times, it was fine. I kind of like, I'm here for 8 hours, I'm doing my job, I don't have to speak to anybody, barely. You know, there were nobody that I particularly spoke to, so it's not a big deal. I just kind of brushed it off like I would in public if it's somebody that I don't know, some stranger. But yeah, so that was a little bit of a shock to the system. It did make me think quite a lot as well. Yeah, just kind of a very strange and a little bit uncomfortable situation to be in, but it is what it is. But yeah, it made me think just about the fact that I must look, you know, for my age, I must look quite androgynous, which I never really thought I did before. I thought I was very much leaning towards, you know, assumption of male, which is generally the case, but then I realised that's because I look younger. So yeah, it was just kind of weird. It made me think about a lot of things, and I'm kind of glad that it happened, because it made me realise in what situations and how I'm read, and it's kind of interesting to have that little bit of insight. I don't know, I found it quite interesting. Again, it was uncomfortable at times, and it's not the nicest thing being misgendered, and I did feel quite shit the first like couple of days. Like my first day, and I got misgendered like 30 times, which was pretty shit, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I found it quite interesting. It was alright. Would you make your mind up if you're staying or going, doggy? So needy. And with Riley on his third return to the bedroom, I think I'm gonna leave that video there. Hopefully that was somewhat informative. I didn't really have much to go on. Again, I was only there for a month and I just wanted to make sure that I covered what was asked. So hopefully I did an alright job of that. If there's anything that you want me to expand on or anything you want to ask that I didn't cover, because I did cover only a very small amount of things, feel free to leave a comment down below, ask me any questions, get specifics, anything like that. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe down below to see more from me. I upload a new video every single Monday, and hit that bell button to be notified when I upload a new video. Also, if you want to, you can follow my social media, all on the screen now. It's all Jay's Journey FTM. I think I'm getting a cold. Also, make sure that you follow me on Twitter, because I'm doing the polls again, so you get to decide which video goes up the next week. And I'll actually leave a link to this week's vote, or this week's poll, in the description below. If you're watching this like 3 or 4 days after it went up, the vote will probably be gone, but make sure that you are following me on Twitter and you're looking out for the polls and you get your say in which video you want to see. And if there's any videos specifically that you want to see, you find helpful or you find informative or just find entertaining to watch, feel free to leave those in the comments down below as well, or DM me on any of my social media. And yeah, so thanks for watching, come on the journey, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.